Thank you guys so much for joining us. Whether you're here live right now or you're watching the recording, thank you for taking the time just to hear about what God is doing in the Dominican Republic. And we are so excited to share with you guys right now just about us and what's coming up and what God is doing. We are going to be talking about Eastern Dominican Christian Mission, which is the mission that we serve with. You'll often hear us refer to it as EDCM. So EDCM stands for Eastern Dominican Christian Mission. Some of the current ministries that EDCM has right now, who we are, what we're doing, some super exciting upcoming projects, and then how you can get involved. All right, so just a little bit about EDCM, Eastern Dominican Christian Missions. So we plant Christ in the heart of others. So Eastern Dominican Christian Mission, we exist to fulfill the Great Commission of Christ by making disciples and forming those disciples into congregations. So we really believe in equipping and empowering local leadership to plant churches and bring those churches to self-sufficiency. That is the essence of EDCM and who EDCM is. Now, what does EDCM do? We, like I said, our main thing is church planting. We often like to reach communities that are overlooked. So a great, amazing story about this is EDCM currently has a church plant in a community in Punta Cana. Now, when this was about 8-9 years ago, when they went to go plant this church, this community that they were planting the church in was called Plywood Village because it was so run down, there was a lot of drugs, and it was just not a good neighborhood. Even the government came in and was like, there is no hope for this neighborhood, and they named it Plywood City. Now, EDCM decided to still, God was calling us to plant a church there, and then later on a school, and they decided to still go into this community. Well, because of the church and the community, because of the church and the school, the community was transformed in so many different ways that a couple years later, the government came back into the community and they were amazed at the change that happened in the people and in the community, that now the community is called Village of Hope instead of Plywood Village. So we just really try to strive to reach communities that are often overlooked, that, often are kind of lacking the, relationship with Christ and things like that. Now, how do we plant churches? One of the big things is training. We're going to talk a lot more about training specifically in our presentation, but we train future pastors to go out and plant more churches. And not only that, but we also hold trainings for church leaders, for youth pastors, children pastors, and other leaders in the church. We want these churches to become self-sufficient, so that means that they need leaders in themselves, not only the pastors. Now, another thing that we do is we realize that many of these communities that we are going into have a physical need that needs to be met in order for their hearts to be open to the spiritual need and to the gift of Jesus. So every time we go into the community, we often ask ourselves, what are the needs of this particular community that we are in? Every community is different. Every community has a different need. And so we like to go into the community and see what is the physical need that needs to be met. And oftentimes, once that is, once we realize that and work towards that, then we see their hearts become open, and it's a way to connect with them about Jesus and about what we're doing.
Amen. So yes, I'm going to be talking a little bit about our ministries, and we're mainly located in 3 cities of the eastern part of the Dominican Republic. And so we're working from here with future plans to expand to the whole country of the Dominican Republic. We mainly work right now in 3 cities, which is Punta Cana, where you can see a little bit of a picture of the local church right there. They were having like a service there. We have a little bit of a picture here too of the Igwe Church and La Romana Church to your right. So these churches are located in different cities, and those pastors are also pastoring these churches and the community, which are 2 different things. They want to pastor the church, and they want to pastor the community to. Something too that is extremely connected to these churches are the projects that we are developing with throughout this church. So we have like La Otra Banda and Anamuya. Those are two Haitian churches that are ministry, that are under the Igwe church, pretty much. So those are Haitian churches. We have a lot of Haitians in the Dominican Republic, and they need Jesus too. They need transformation too. And we have a Haitian pastor pastoring over those Haitian people that are in need of Jesus too. We also have Brisas del Mar. This is actually our newest church plant that we're working right now, real time. Brisas del Mar is a project. It's not only a church. It's more like a project because we have a church building. We know that the church is not the building, but we have the church. We have the church building already that we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But we have the church, and we also have a medical clinic. And the reason why we want to do this, we're going to talk a little bit in depth about this project over here of Brisas del Mar in a little bit. But Brisas del Mar is just like my beautiful wife said. She was talking about how we want to connect with the people through their needs. So we believe that the needs of the communities are different. The communities are different in general, and something that we saw, like for example, in the Punta Cana school, that my wife is also going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But there we have a need of schooling. The kids couldn't go to school. So we went to the community. We saw the need that the community had, and we started to connect with the people through their needs. So, and that's pretty much what we're trying to do here in Brisas del Mar. We got there, and we don't want to put a school there because it's not the main need. The main need was a medical clinic. People couldn't get to the hospital. People couldn't afford going to the hospital, even paying public transportation or having like health insurance. Like they didn't even know what that was at a certain point because they just couldn't afford it. Kids was growing up, and for them it was normal not having health insurance because their parents never told them about health insurance. So we went to that community. We saw the need, and we started working with the medical clinic to be able to reach them through the needs that they have physically. And because of that need, we're able to connect with them. And let me say this, while the doctor that is in charge of this medical clinic is working with the patients, we also have a pastor that is working on the spiritual side of things while they wait to be treated by the doctor. So it's an amazing connection that we have right there, and we're very excited. Again, we're going to be talking a little bit more about that in a little bit. I don't want to say it all at once, but we also have a school in Punta Cana that it's also reaching kids. It's also reaching the parents of the kids that are going to that school. So it's just amazing to see how this project too is intentionally happening in the city of Punta Cana, just being able to see kids coming to school after the statistics that came out. And if you look at a neighborhood without education, what is going to be like in 10 years, in 20 years from now? So just being able to reach the kids, to reach the parents of the kids, it's just amazing to see what God is doing through that school. My wife actually is going to talk a little bit more about some of the numbers, some more details about the school in Punta Cana too.
Yeah, so, when it came to the community connection in Punta Cana, during that time, there was a statistic that came out that there was 2,000 children in that community alone that couldn't go to school because either their parents couldn't afford it or all these schools were full. Like there was just no more room left in the public schools. And so that is why KUCM was like, we got to do something about this. And so we have 550 children in our Punta Cana school currently. Now we are maxed out. I think if we could take 2,000, I think we would, but they are busting through the walls. Now, I know with COVID and stuff, schools kind of been changing and they're figuring it out with everything online. But, pre-COVID and COVID aside, we do have 550 children enrolled in our Punta Cana school, and that means about 400 families who are being reached and 550 children who get a Christian education And like I said, 400 families that get to send their children to school now. And another cool statistic is in 2019, we had 73 baptisms across EDCM. So that was amazing to see. And while this didn't happen super recently, it's not 2019, but about a month ago at our Igwe church, we had this lady come to Jesus, and the following week she got baptized. And then the next Sunday after she got baptized, her daughter came to church with her, and then her daughter gave her life to Christ as well. And then the next week, her daughter got baptized. So it has just been amazing to see just how, one person, committing to Christ and becoming baptized has just led a chain effect. And we've seen this in so many other families. We just had a father of a family of like 10 people who come to our church just come to Christ as well, like during COVID. And so it's just been amazing to see how baptism and how this can just really affect a whole family and affect a whole community and just continue to grow and to expand itself. So that was a little bit about EDCM, what EDCM does, what God is doing through EDCM. But now we wanted to talk a little bit about our roles with EDCM and kind of what we do for EDCM in here.
Yes, so I am Harold Diaz. Nice meeting you. I am the director of church development in the country of the Dominican Republic. We, like I said before, we work mainly in the eastern part of the Dominican Republic. So something that we do, since we are spread out through the east in different cities, something that we do is that we have different cities and different pastors, different churches, different projects. So something that I do is that I work with pastors. I work with pastors developing strategies, some that we strongly teach here to our leaders and local future leaders that are right now being trained. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that too in a little bit. But something that we say a lot is that culture changes, like the time change, and the church needs to stay relevant to the times. Like the church needs to stay relevant to the culture. And if we don't develop strategies as time change to be able to reach the community and reach Jesus, then what's going to happen to the church? What's going to happen? So we try to stay on top of that a lot. So we are constantly, in my case, I'm constantly working with pastors, working on strategies. How are we going to reach the community? How's the community changing? How are the people changing? How are the people coming to Jesus? Something that we want to do too, and that we're actually working on, and I'm strongly working on that too, is the seminary. And the seminary gives answer to two questions. How do we equip and how do we empower? Because those are the two key words of our ministry, equipping and empowering. So how do we do that? So this right now is a huge part. The seminary is a huge part of it. So we train leaders from the local church because we want to strong our leaders that are already in our churches and make the churches better and make the churches grow as much as possible. And we also want to empower them, not only equipping them by training them, but we also want to empower them by sending them to different communities. So we have future potential pastors that we're working with right now, that we are training right now, that are going to be strongly part of this seminary to be able to be equipped and empowered to be able to expand to more cities around the east coast of the Dominican Republic, and maybe honestly around the whole country of the Dominican Republic, because that's our plan. We want to keep expanding the kingdom of God. What we are seeing in every city is just incredible. It's just incredible. Every baptism, every family, every child that goes to our church is a story. It's a different story. We're full of things, and the church planting process is something that is huge too. We want to keep growing, we want to keep expanding. And yeah, so let me pass it over now to my wife so she explains a little bit of what she does.
Yeah, Harold has a huge part in the church planting process in the seminary and just working with all the pastors and everything like that. So now, I am the director of communications for Eastern Dominican Christian Missions. So I handle all of pretty much the communications from the Dominican Republic to the United States. So this includes all the videos and all the pictures that I take here, testimony videos, pictures of church events, happenings, different things like that, that all get sent back to the States to keep our supporters updated and our churches updated just with what's happening here. And a big way that I do that is I'm in charge of all of the social media platforms. So I post videos and I post pictures on our Facebook and Instagram weekly, and just another way to keep our supporters updated more on a consistent basis. Now, another thing that I am working on as well is fundraisers for EDCM. So we are about to launch a t-shirt fundraiser for our COVID-19 relief that I've been working on. So you can stay tuned for that. And then I'm also working on some bigger fundraisers in the future, so you can keep an eye out for those as well. And then although COVID kind of put a pause on our short-term teams, when they do pick back up, I will be working with them as well to plan kind of what they're going to be doing and, their budget, their schedule, work with the pastors here on, what are our needs here? Does the school need to be painted? Does La Romana Church need this? Or different things like that. But then also work with the teams that come down and see what their skill set are and different things like that. Because we don't want a team of doctors to come down and paint the school. No, we want a team of doctors to come down and do a medical outreach, but we would love a group of high schoolers to come down and paint the school because they love that. So that is just something that, I'm working with scheduling and short-term teams and being their, contact here when they get here and different things like that. And then also just helping this one out with just different things that arise and just being flexible with my job here. And so that was a little bit about us and who we are. Now Harold's going to kind of tell you guys about a little bit more in depth about some super exciting upcoming projects. You've heard a little bit about them, but we're going to tell you a little bit more now.
Yes, so we have the Brisas del Mar. So here you can kind of see the inside of the building that we already built it's pretty much built in Brisas del Mar. The church is not that is not the church. The church is already happening. They're already gathering on a weekly basis. But this building is the building where the church is going to start gathering once this whole COVID thing disappears, or we're able to be able to meet in person again in the Dominican Republic. So this is a big thing. We're already doing that. The medical clinic is a big part of this because of what I kind of explained a little bit before, and is that while they come to our clinic for medical care, the pastor is there too, offering Jesus too. So I think it's an amazing thing to see. Also, the seminary. So the seminary is gonna start officially on January this coming year. So we are already recruiting students. We are already recruiting pastors to be able to equip and empower through this seminary and send them out to different communities, different cities, even to be able to keep expanding the kingdom of Jesus. Something else is I want to show you a little bit of this, like the church plans that I just told you about that we want to keep spreading around the country. The leadership training, this is a big part too, because we are not going to be able to recruit every single person. But the communities that we're going to be planting the churches at, those communities are going to start, the pastors are going to start reaching people for Jesus. And we want those people to be trained too. We want those people to be equipped to be able to be sent out too and reach the community for Jesus. We don't want to just gather a group of people of 10 people, 15 people and stay like that for 20 years. We want to keep growing, and nothing happens just by itself. You have to be intentional when you're making things happening, especially in ministry. So we want to do leadership training for those people to be able to train them and send them out and reach the community for Jesus too. So because of this whole COVID thing, COVID-19, there's some of the things that we are actually trying to work around. But right now, a big need that we have is food. It's just as simple as that. We are right now trying to do COVID relief things. Like right now, especially in the eastern part, I'm sure you've heard about Punta Cana and La Romana and those areas that are vacation destinations for a lot of people. So the eastern part of the country they depend a lot on resorts and on hotels and tourism in general. And there's no tourists coming down. There's nobody. So if there's no tourists, if the resorts are closed, then it means that there's parents that don't have any food for their kids, and kids just don't understand that there's no food. They're just hungry. So we've in the middle of all this, in the middle of all the planning that we're doing, some that we are strongly doing right now on a monthly basis, couple times a month, is providing food supplies to the community, to every community that we are in, including the Haitians, including the children ministry, including every single area of our ministry. We're doing this because we love people. People is the most important thing, and Jesus loves people. And I think right now we're being called to show Jesus in this way. So yeah, my wife is gonna continue a little bit with what's going on.
Yeah, so now you've heard a little bit of just about what God is doing through EDCM, through our ministry, our roles here, and different things like that. So now, the big question, how can you get involved? We're here in the Dominican Republic. You guys are there in the US. How can you be a part of what God is doing here in the Dominican Republic? Now, the first and probably the most important is to pray. Pray for
Amen.
our ministry, pray that God continues to work through us, through EDCM, through our pastors here. Continue just to pray for our pastors, for our local leaderships, for all of our future upcoming plans. Just continue to pray for all of those things. Now, something that we're starting kind of cool and that we're looking for is, I haven't found the greatest name, but if you consider yourself maybe like a prayer warrior is what I'm going to call them. We are looking for people who want to be committed to, praying for us on a daily, weekly basis. These are people that are going to get text messages that, once a day, maybe twice a day, once a week. We're not really quite sure, just as little things come up. Hey, we're walking into this meeting. Please pray for us. Hey, this happened. Please pray for us. Hey, this happened. These are going to be smaller little things that, people who, want those smaller notifications more often. Now, if you don't want that, it's totally fine. We totally understand that you are still praying for us, and we will still be including our big prayer requests in our newsletters and, bigger things on Facebook updates and things like that. But these are for, the people that are going to be more on a daily, consistent basis. We'll send out some text messages. There won't be any international things. We're working on that. But if that's you, there is going to be a link in the chat. Otherwise, you can go to this bit.ly/Diaz prayer and fill out the Google form. It's just going to be like your name and your phone number, and to get you signed up on that list. So these are just going to be little prayer request things that, whether they're daily or a couple times a week or weekly, just as they come up. But we still know that you are praying for us, and that we will still include the bigger things if you don't want to be a part of that list, and that is totally fine. The next is to give, to be financially a part of God's work in the Dominican Republic. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more on the next slides. So the next one, and probably one of the most simple and easiest ways, and one of the most impactful for us, is to share. Share our ministry with your friends, your family, your coworkers, your church. Share this recording with all of those people. Share it on your Facebook. Share it to your email list. Share it to everyone. We only have so many connections that we have and people that we know. But when you guys use your connections to help get this word out and our ministry out, we are able to reach so many more people with what God is doing here.
Amen.
And the last is to follow up. If you have watched this recording and you want to hear more, one-on-one about what we're doing, what God's doing, we would love to spend some time with you one-on-one on a Zoom and hear about you, hear about your heart, hear about, what you're involved in and different things like that. And yeah, just talk to you and hear your heart. And so, a little bit more just, Harold and I, want to give you the opportunity to invest in what God is doing in the Dominican Republic. There's a bunch of different ways that you can do this. One of the biggest need of ours is, our monthly support. We're currently 2/3 funded on our monthly giving, which is amazing, but that still means we have a third to go. And, these are people, monthly support partners who, are just with us monthly and investing in what God is doing here. We also understand that monthly might not be the greatest for some people, and so that's why we also have annual partners as well, and we just very much appreciate and love our annual partners so much, investing annually in what God's doing here, different projects, different things like that. And and another thing, and the last thing is, one time, we always are going to probably have different projects, different things that are come up where we need one-time donations. Like right now, I'm currently in the process of getting my residency visa and for the Dominican Republic, and this is a huge step in being able to stay here and do ministry here long term. After I have my residency visa for a year, I can get citizenship, and so, which is going to be a whole nother process. But that process is costing about $2,000 in total, and we already have a gracious partner that is covering 500 of it. So we are looking for some more partners for the rest. So if you're somebody who maybe wants to partner with what God is doing here on a one-time basis and different things like that, we love those people as well. And so when it comes to giving, there'll be a link in the chat as well. Otherwise, if you're watching the recording, you can go to donorbox.org/Taylor and Harold to donate. That's the easiest way. Otherwise, you can make a check payable to Grace Unlimited Inc. at this address as well. And if you do want to follow up and hear, more one-on-one, the easiest way is to email us at taylor.easterndominican@gmail.com, and we would love to set up some time with you guys. So that is kind of all we have. We wanted to spend a little time answering any questions. If you guys have any, we'll give you guys like a minute or something. Let me check the chat if there's any in there already. How do I get to the chat? Over here. What are your prayer needs? So I would say right now our biggest prayer need is probably for, just like the COVID relief here, the COVID situation when it comes to the Dominican Republic in general, just, the people who have, lost their job, jobs are starting to pick back up. Curfew is like loosening and things like that, but still people are, hungry, and we're still doing food reach because it's still a necessity. When it comes to us personally, I would say a big prayer request is definitely our, support raising and, being funded to be able to be here and to, reach, do ministry here and be a part of what God is doing here. And yeah, I would say, is there anything else? Just, everyone overall, just everyone's health and safety and just here and everything like that. So, where do you get the food that you deliver?
That's a good question. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so each city is a little different, depending on, where they are. Most of them get, the majority of it from different, like, local, they're called, like, comados or, like, surtidores, which are kind of like little grocery stores, in a sense. And so, the one here in Higüey, they got their, like, eggs and their salami and different things like that from the surtidor that's, like, right across the street from the church. And so and then the ones in like Brisas Del Mar got like their food from some colmados and places around the churches as well. They want to try to support their people, like their community as well, and their community things. And then if there's some things like sometimes those places don't have like rice and things like that they might get at like the supermarket as well, but most of it we tried to get from the like local surrounding mini grocery stores.
Yeah, which is intentional, because we want to support the local businesses, and they need to survive too. They need to sell, they need to feed their families. So since we're not giving them like food like that, we want to support what they're doing. So it's very intentional that we are partnering with those little businesses too.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Is there any more questions? Otherwise, how is it distributed? The pastors are in charge of that. So each of the main pastors, they really know their community and their church. They really know, it's amazing. Harold's dad is the lead pastor here in Higuay, and he really knows like, oh, this family really needs it. He knows like, oh, this family has 8 people, this family, or this family, this family. Like they really know their community, and they really know like who is in need, and what is needed, and different things like that. So the pastors are kind of in charge of that and distributing it, based among family and among need, depending on kind of who is in need. We have a lot of people who are working and who are sustaining themselves in the community and getting paychecks, but there are a lot of people who aren't, and maybe they are but not as much, because things are closed earlier and they have a family of 6. So the pastors are really good at knowing all of their people and their community and how to distribute the food.
Yeah. Also I would say that this is an opportunity for the local church to share the gospel of Jesus with those that are non-believers. I think it's we don't only give food to those church members. We go into the communities, and even if they don't go to our church, I think this is an opportunity for people to understand and to know Jesus loves you too. Jesus loves you, and here's a blessing from Jesus to you, to your house, to your children. And it's just incredible. We probably don't have all the time to share the stories, but the other day we had one of our pastors share the story that you probably saw on social media, that our lead missionary, Ryan, he shared about this family who started crying because they were like waiting for God to answer their prayer because they didn't have anything to eat. And just stories like that, like it happens a lot. It happens a lot very often, and being able to be the hands of Jesus and the feet of Jesus, I think it's such a privilege.
Yeah, and Jimmy, what you said, there aren't really much food shortages here. It's more an issue of having the money to buy the food. So, there was maybe some shortages back kind of like in March and April when all those like people were going crazy and shortages were happening, like even in the States. But now it's more just an issue of, having the money to be able to buy the food. And because also prices have gone up because the exchange rate has gone significantly up as well. So food prices have gone up. It's like within this pandemic, and also because there isn't as much shipping here. So, there's no food shortages, but prices are still higher, and it's more an issue of, having the money to buy the food.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and thank you for watching the recording. We really, appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this. Please, share this and our ministry in the recording with, like we said, anyone and everyone that you may know, to be interested in hearing what we have to say. We'd love to talk to any of your friends, your family. We would be so honored to, get that opportunity. And we hope you guys have an amazing night. And definitely, if you don't follow EDCM on Instagram or Facebook, go follow them, or my EDCM page as well. This was kind of a, a big overview, but we're hoping to kind of do some, monthly updates more that are just kind of specific to the like months coming in the future. So be on the lookout for that. And so, so we hope you guys have an amazing night. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully we will see you guys soon. All right. Bye.